The shack squatted on the dusty bench, facing a mine portal shored up with timber. She wondered if the former occupants had had any luck, or whether Disappointment Gulch had lived up to its name. Ah well, I'm prospecting for scenery, not ore. She entered the shack and looked around. Hard-packed dirt floor, rough timbered shelves along one wall. A window, long emptied of glass, framed a mountain vista that echoed her vision. Susan smiled and lowered tripod and box to the floor. Eager to get to work, she removed her coat and hung it on a crooked nail in the wall. It took an hour to set up the camera at the window. Satisfied at last with the placement and the light, Susan knelt on the dirt floor, rustling through the box for a replacement to a plate holder's stripped screw. The wind paused, and the river's whisper was broken by the sharp clip-clop of a horse. Resting a hand on the rough-timbered window frame, Susan looked down at the railroad track, nearly 100 feet below. A man dismounted and, reins in hand, glanced up and down the track. Susan noted his ramrod straight bearing and his military-style cap and greatcoat. Faded blue or gray? A soldier? He walked to the siding and the cars, examining the rolling stock. He then headed away toward the trestle and the kiln field. Susan considered, then shrugged, deciding that he was probably on railroad business. She turned her attention back to her camera, removed the lens cap, made the exposure, and replaced the cap. Before she could remove the plate, the soldier reappeared without his horse, cradling a box in his arms. He crossed to the siding. Susan debated whether to call out and make her presence known. He opened the box and extracted a tube the length of a man's forearm, and red as danger. Susan sucked in her breath and retreated a step into the shadows. She'd lived long enough in the mining town of Leadville to know what that tube held. Giant powder. More powerful than black powder by far, so dangerous that the railway companies refused to transport it, leaving mule skinners to haul it by freight wagons over the high mountain passes to Leadville and the other mining towns. The soldier methodically placed 2, 4, 6 cartridges beneath the railroad cars and attached blasting caps and long fuses. Susan watched in horror. He's going to blow up the cars. She ran to the shack's entrance and stopped. There was no way to retrace her steps across the slope without being visible from below. The best course of action, she told herself, was to wait until the fuses were lit and then to run for the mine portal. When the giant powder exploded, there was no guarantee the shack would survive the flying debris. Heart-pounding, Susan returned to the window to see another rider approaching from the north, from the direction of Leadville. The soldier must have seen or heard the rider as well. He stepped between the two cars, hidden from the rider's view, but still visible to Susan. After some scrutiny of the approaching horse and rider, he looked up in Susan's direction, removed his cap, and waved it. He's seen me. Panic curdled in her stomach. She shrank against the cabin wall before logic whispered that the friendly wave was not meant for her. For whom, then? A vision of the ridge above her rose in her mind like an image materializing on a photo plate. Steep slope, topped by a jagged assembly of outcrops, protrusions, many places to hide. Feeling trapped between the men below and possibly more above, she peered around the window frame to see horse and rider ease into a trot, finally stopping by the soldier. The soldier replaced his cap and stepped out from between the cars. He sketched a perfunctory salute to the newcomer, who nodded back and leaned forward over the saddle, examining the half-full box and the fuses snaking across the dirt. The wide brim of the rider's slouch hat flapped in the breeze like the wings of a buzzard trying to take leave of the ground. His nondescript clothes and horse were dirt brown. Man and mount seemed nearly invisible, calculated to blend into the landscape. The two men talked. Distance and the river's murmur hid their words. The soldier turned away, gesturing at the train cars. The rider pulled his revolver, aimed it at the